serious, what's a secret that you have that will probably die with you? I caught my mom and dad cheating on each other on different occasions when I younger, and they don't know about it. Perfect opportunity to get both PS5 and a bike. I'd probably ask for money so I can build a PC so I don't have to just stream on my PS4. My mother emotionally neglected me as a young child, and the only time she'd ever show me exclusive attention is when I would get hurt or sick. My abusive yet chronically ill now dead brother was her priority. So, one time I broke my wrist and got a cast for the first time. It was orange because it was Halloween time and my mom put pumpkin stickers on it. She took me out to lunch and to the gift shop to get a toy. Once all was said and done, the exclusive attention subsided. In my deeply distorted brain as a young child yearning for her mom to pay attention to her more, I would purposely break my wrists and ankles. I voluntarily broke my bones 6 different times in 2 years. My mom also didn't question it either, as she was too high on opioids to raise an eyebrow about my excessive bone breaking and one cast after another. It's amazing what lengths we will go to try to feel loved. I'm so sorry this happened to you. You're worthy of love just as you are. Thank you so much. Sending so much love to you, stranger. My mom got pregnant with me to trap my dad. He was much older than her when I was in my teens. He got cancer. She took care of him for a while, but over time she got very callous. I went home from college one time and he was watching Static on his TV by himself in his room. I asked him why, and he said he didn't want to bother her. We went out of state because she just had to go to this convention that happens every year. It was hard to be away from my girlfriend, Mariah, who eventually became my wife. We were obviously and very much in love, but I went with my parents. Dad had a new tumor develop on the convention trip, and I said we should go home to get him to the doctor. Mom refused. By this time we kind of had an idea of where things were headed with his health, and it wasn't good. When she got out of the car at a store, I told him I should just drive him home and get him to the doctor. He said if I did, that we'd never see her again. And I can't do that. I told him, when this is all over, I'm never going to speak to her again. I've never seen him desperate before. He had tears in his eyes and he said, you can't do that. She's my Mariah and I love her, and you can't leave her all alone. Promise me. So I swore to him that I would keep contact. I call her once every month or every couple of months and talk to her. I visit her every other year in non-pandemic times. I play the role, but I'm not talking to my mother. I'm talking to his Mariah. If I do this right, she will never know, because I promised him. Your mother sounds horrible, but you really loved your dad to promise that. Alt account. Because I refuse to have this on my main. I think my dad may be attracted to me. When I was a teenager I borrowed his computer to use the printer and I stumbled upon a shit ton of incest porn. Like the father/daughter kind. I've since then noticed how my dad looks at me. Even the thought of it makes me absolutely want to throw up. This is the first time I've even said it out loud, and it will probably be the last. I'm so sorry you're in this situation. I feel the exact same way and I don't think I'd ever have the strength to say it out loud. Most of the time I try to avoid even thinking about it. My dad's fine when he's sober, but things get really uncomfortable when he gets drunk. It's to the point where my entire relationship with him has been ruined. I'm afraid that if anyone finds out I feel this way, they'd think I'm the creepy one for thinking that. Buddy, you have instincts for a reason. If you're getting weird vibes, it's weird. Talk to someone and see if they can verify it, or make yourself scarce. Always make sure you're surrounded by other people. When I was younger I used to have nightmares for several years that I was getting tickled aggressively by a demon in the dark. Honestly, not planning on telling anyone in case they think I was bewitched or something. When I was a child I couldn't sleep on my bottom bunk bed because I knew it lived under my bed and would kill me if I didn't stay on the top bunk. Edit. I remembered the time I somehow fell off my top bunk in my sleep and didn't even wake up, but wasn't killed by it. Nor was I woken by my dad, who heard a thump, came into my room, and found me asleep on the floor, and said I told him I was fine and to go away when he checked on me. Children's rationalizing is quite strange, right? I still maintain that it's perfectly rational to fear it. My childhood best friend was so scared of it he buried the VHS tape in the backyard. We were about 7 to 9 years old at the time. We are in our late 20s now. It is still there. Edit. Texted this friend to ask if he thinks it's still there. He said it is still there and not to mention it to him ever again. My dad, because a leader in Boy Scouts, to make sure I was never sexually abused when I was young. I'm about to be 23 and he still doesn't know it happened multiple times anyways. Mind telling me what your dad did to make you unwilling to tell him? I have kids and want to know what to avoid. It wasn't anything on his part. I just know it would break his heart to know he failed in protecting me. Remind your kids of how loved they are. Honestly, exact same reason for me. My parents tried so hard to keep us safe, and I knew my dad would kill anyone that hurt me. I didn't want him to think he failed in protecting me. My older brother sexually abused me many times when I was in late elementary school / early middle school. Dude, I'm really sorry to hear that. I can only imagine that is something that both are likely to take to the grave. But I will encourage you to talk about it to a psychologist if or when you feel ready to, if you haven't already. I had something similar and it's amazing how much that negative trauma associated with it can eat away at us. Needs a release. Thank you. I have never seen a therapist or anything similar, so I have never told anyone like that. My brother and I somehow have an alright relationship now despite what happened. Honestly, I'm glad to hear that. It's likely he's quite ashamed of it / buries it down as well. But it's not my place to speculate. Just that this doesn't have to define you and your relationship with him now. But only here to say that therapy can actually do wonders for this sort of situation. It's really important to release that trauma rather than holding it in forever and come to terms with it. I was sort of blown away to realize how much it impacted my life in ways completely unrelated. Having a bunch of trauma not dealt with was a huge driver for my anxiety. I don't say this to normalize or minimize it whatsoever, but you should be aware that your situation is a lot more common than you may think. Many of us have been through it or similar, and psychologists have helped people through it many times. They have techniques specifically for this. Talking about it was of huge benefit to me, and I always recommend others do too. My 3.5-year-old son put my 18-year-old cat in the washer and closed the door. I found her the next morning. I told everyone she died peacefully in her sleep. She didn't, and it kills me every day. Oh god. That is awful. So sorry. I have extremely bad nightmares every night that basically just combine all of my deepest fears into one. It happens every night, and I get hardly any rest. It's gotten to the point where I'm scared to go to sleep, but I refuse to tell anyone because I want to try to act happy. Maybe see a doctor about this if to the point of having anxiety over sleep. It can only help. I'm actually going to a therapist soon, so I do hope that it helps. Glad to hear. GL. I don't know who took my virginity, but I'm assuming it was one of my family members, and there is a lot of CP of me from the early 2000s. Also, I love Nickelback. Also, I fucking hate potatoes. God, I'm so sorry. That's fucking awful. Can tell from your comment you came out with a solid sense of humor and strong as hell. Thank you. I feel like if I shared more of my secrets, people would hate me over the internet too. I also really fucking hate potatoes. You might be surprised by how many people have shared experiences. There's a ton of shitty people out there, but just as many good ones. Potatoes are amazing. So far I haven't met anyone who shares my hate for those ungodly things called potatoes, so I big doubt. I slept with my dad's girlfriend's sister years ago, and there's a chance I could be a father. A couple years ago I, 17 meters, went with my dad to his GF's housewarming party for dinner. She invited her sister over so she could see the house, and the entire dinner she, 32F, was making eyes at me, even putting her legs over mine on the couch while watching TV. A while later, she gave me the look. We snuck out, and the dirty ensued. Turns out my dad's GF was a cheater, so that didn't last long. And I never did see her sister after that. But about a year later I heard through the grapevine that she had a kid, and confirmed it on her social media. The timetables matched up, and the kid's features looked like they could be mine. The world may never know. Dude, you were underage. That's so not cool of her. In Switzerland, the age of consent is 16. I always thought that was normal. 16 in the UK too. Sometimes I have a super offensive / racist internal monologue. It's not what I'm actually thinking or saying. The things that the voice says are awful. Hey, I just wanted to say that this is normal. Those are called intrusive thoughts and almost everyone experiences them at some point in their life. If the thoughts are really affecting you, then consider seeing a therapist who can help you categorize and minimize them. I hate those. Make you feel something is wrong with your mind. Some can be sexual to an extent that repulsive. Others about how it would look if you do something really violent. Or even if you said something that would hurt someone. I hate them. Fortunately they are very short. And I sweep them away by rational arguments. So me they are not affecting. And they are rare. I have these all the time. And it is so annoying and it hurts me inside. For me, the intrusive thoughts are always violent. For example, I could just be talking to a friend or someone and be like HMN. What if I just bash this person's head into the wall and make them bleed? Then I try my best to immediately shake these thoughts away. It really hurts when I think of stuff like that. And I don't know how to get rid of it. I had to buy my own engagement ring. Bless my wife, but she got scammed hard. The ring she got me was actually lead. It literally fell apart within weeks. So I got a custom mold made so I could make a duplicate only in gold. I will never tell her. She's so hard on herself already just day to day. Edit. Thanks for the awards and upvotes. I'm a lesbian. Simul tripping over each other being so polite. It's sweet and endearing. Thank you Reddit strangers. You're a great wife. I think this is a husband. Edit. Wait, sorry NVM, my bad for assuming. My bad for assuming. I respect that, but isn't the person you're replying to assuming? IDK, maybe they know more than I do. However, I meant to say sorry to the opposite might have offended them, which was not my intention. I did a quick check of their profile and it does say that they are lesbian. So I apologized for assuming that they were the husband, considering men can't be lesbians. Just trying to be understanding, that's all. If I'm wrong in any way, feel free to correct me. I have my own world of superheroes and demons and I live at least half a day there when no one's around. Post breakup it's been very lonely for me and the only way to escape it is this world of mine. I do this too. I'm never creative enough to make my own world, but I usually use one from a video game. But my stories get so elaborate that it overtakes the world. I do this weird thing when I do it. If anyone has any answers it would be great. I like to take the end of something and kind of shake it. It's really hard to describe. It helps me get into the world better. Maladaptive daydreaming. When I was an 18-year-old college freshman, I was arrested for public intoxication. I was, such a lightweight, so it didn't take much for me to be over the legal limit. I was just a stupid teen and was in the wrong place at the wrong time and I ended up in jail. I remember that the resident advisor on my dorm floor loaned me money for bail and I had to appear in court and had a conviction. 4 years later as a college grad, I feared that I would be fired from a job for failure to disclose a conviction. Somewhere in my 20s I hired a lawyer and was able to purge my conviction and retrieved all documentation, fingerprint card, mugshot, police report. 50 years later, my siblings don't know and my parents, now deceased, never knew. I'm going to burn everything before I go. Damn, this is epic actually. If my dad or granddad would tell me this story I would laugh with them and drink a pint on their good health and adventures to come. Chalk it up to Catholic guilt. I hope that guilt does not limit you too much anymore. Peace be with you, stranger. I'm super lucky to have been super close to my wonderful and caring mother my whole life. I lived with her from the time I was born until she died when I was 26 years old. She was the glue that held our family together. She was there for anyone and everyone. Family parties and holidays were civil because of her. This isn't a big secret, but it would break hearts. She outwardly loved everyone and secretly hated about 80% of them. The secrets I was let in on also ruined any affection I had for most of them. It's amazing what she did for her mom, my grandmother, to keep the appearance of a happy little family together. Now the family is in ruins. TL. Dr. Mom kept the family together for my gram and hated almost everyone. Edit. Spelling. The first time I jerked off I came in my own eye. Amidst all the terrible things in that thread. This is an ice break. I heard it's painful to nut in your eye. Was it? Nah, it was pretty funny. I started laughing and blindly making my way to the toilet. It was Christmas a few years ago. I was 16. My mom accidentally left the back door open while trying to air out the house, and my grandmother's dog, an 18-year-old dog, had fell inside the lake. My mom felt terrible. The dog had passed away. And on top of that, my grandmother's husband was already in the hospital. Everyone was devastated. My mom felt so guilty. She had asked my grandmother if she could air out the house, and she said yes. So I lied and told my mom that I remembered her closing the door, and I had opened it again when my brother sprayed Febreze everywhere. That part was actually true. He had sprayed Febreze everywhere. Of course my mom believed me. I don't think I'll ever tell her that she actually opened the door. That's a really kind and generous thing to do for your mum. When I was around 6, I tried shoving a toy lightsaber up my ass. That poor lightsaber. Once you start down the dark path, forever will it dominate your destiny. I'm not sure if any of you remember the railroad killer. Around the time before his capture, he had reportedly come through our area. I was in my early 20s. A few friends and I were hiking in some woods that were bordered by train tracks. We had been discussing the serial killer during our hike. One of my friends picked up a rock by the tracks that had some red color on it. I jokingly asked, "Oh no, is that blood?" Another friend joked, "Maybe it's from the railroad killer." We all chuckled about the stupid joke and carried on our hike. That night, one of the friends was in his apartment. He had been drinking. Then he heard someone trying to break in through his front door, which was locked. He yelled several times for the person to identify themselves. Being under the influence and frightened, he got his pistol and shot the person through the door. It killed them instantly. Later, my friend told the police that he was remembering our previous conversation about the serial killer being drunk. He thought that's who was trying to break into his apartment. Turns out it was just another resident of the building. He had also been drinking and mistakenly thought he was unlocking the door to his own apartment. The police called me at work the next day to question me. They were trying to justify my friend's mindset at the time of the shooting. I've never told anyone else because I feel responsible for that person's untimely death. Dude, from your friend's POV, someone was attempting to break and enter. They didn't identify themselves when asked multiple times. It's unfortunate that it was someone innocently attempting to get into their own apartment, but it probably would have played out the exact same way, even if you didn't mention anything. Using my throwaway, I used to work at an investment bank. However, to get the job I had to do a variety of assessments, which among others included an Excel financial modeling test. Now I'm quite experienced with Excel. I built lots of complex financial models. But what this task involved was to make some corrections to a very poorly built financial model. Not intentionally bad. Just whoever did it didn't know their stuff well. They leave me in a room with a laptop to complete this task. I open up the spreadsheet and have very little idea where to start. This is just making no sense. As I'm scanning through the tabs desperately trying to find things I'm able to do, I noticed something saved on the desktop. Some previous candidate's attempt was accidentally saved there. Well, I opened it up and started copying what that guy had done and added a few tweaks of my own. I ended up getting the job. Narrator. Finding the solution on the desktop was the test. If you are new to TattleTale TV, please subscribe. We have new videos every day. Stay tuned for more coming up next.